Hello and welcome to Genius Looks Like This. And today I have a fantastic genius, Annik the Great, Annik Petrou. Annik is the founder of Speaker Express, which she has founded since 2011. Annik trains people to speak. She trains them to be able to hold the stage and stand in their power and deliver their ideas and their message to the world. I've met Annik through a common friend, Harriet, who I've had in a previous episode on Genius Looks Like This. And I noted how remarkable Harriet was in her speaking skills and her public, her ability to stand in her power and own the stage and own the audience. And I thought, wow, that's really remarkable. How does someone get to that point? And of course, Harriet does have a natural flair, but it turns out she's also had a secret weapon called Annik, who has trained people like Harriet all those years. And so yes, I connected with Annik in the hope that she will turn me into a fabulous speaker. But we are yet to collaborate effectively yet, but hopefully it will happen very soon. But in the meantime, I have her as a guest on my show, and I'm really honored. Hello, Annik. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, everyone. Lots of love. I'm at the coast in Kent, and I'm excited. Let's see where the conversation will take us.
Fantastic. I'd love for you to tell us the story of how you came upon public speaking. And how it then became your genius, because your background is very different from public speaking, even though it may be related somewhat, but it's still. Please tell us about your story.
Yeah, it's totally not related. And for so many years, I'm the oldest of three. And most of the time, if anyone here is one of the oldest, you will know you were always the one who had to step up, who had to sort things out. And I kind of fell into this role that I had to perform, and I had to be tough and I had to be strong. I'm German. I still think today I'm made of steel, even though I'm not. But for so many years, every time, someone, even just in class, asked me to say something, I had this immense fear. And it's not only like the shaky hands, but it's this, I think it's the worst. And it's the crazy voices. You're stupid. Why would people listen to you? God knows where that came from. And I really nourished it for many years, keep listening to the crazy voices, right? Yeah. And then I had this moment at university where I basically avoided it whenever I could. And they said to us, okay, awesome, 4 years of, studying. And the only thing you have to do to graduate is to do a presentation. And I'm like, oh my Lord. And for 6 weeks, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I could not control what was going on in my mind. I created those monsters in my imagination. I probably had like the highest levels of cortisol I ever experienced in my life. And then on the day, I sat between around 40 other students, right? And they called us. It wasn't even only me. It was a group. So they called the group to the front of the room, and I walked to the front, I turned around, and suddenly the room span, my hands were like really sweating and I could hardly breathe. I blushed, and the German control freak in me was just like, no way ever will that happen again. It was horrible. I hated it. And that's when I looked into ways to overcome it. I don't know, how is it for you? Do you feel like the intense nerves, or is it one of the things? Some people love it. You might be listening thinking, oh my God, you guys are crazy. I love speaking.
Absolutely. There are people who seem to just naturally be able to stand, and it seems to give them the energy and the buzz. They thrive on the buzz, For myself, it depends on the mood on the day, and it depends on the size of the crowd. This for me is a huge step. So yeah, but I'm hoping to be able to stand in front of an audience, a huge audience. And I've done it before. I don't know how I got through it, but I suppose it's definitely a skill that you need to train yourself in. It's not something like you cannot expect just to stand up on stage and it will come to you. It's not like that at all.
for some people it really is. You know, some people have that natural fearlessness. I have observed in the years I've been working with different people, if you're a bit more on the extrovert side, it seems to be a bit easier because you have a calmer inner life. I'm an introvert. I'm also highly sensitive. You might be one of them as well, Venus.
I definitely.
And
Yeah.
and then things trigger faster, you know. And I honestly thought when I started speaking, I really thought at some point it's going to kill me. The adrenaline every time is just like, is it never going to stop? Is it never going to stop? At some point it got better, you know, and some people are just a bit more sensitive, and you just have to make a decision for yourself. Will you speaking up make a difference to other people? Then it's worth it. You know, for me, I knew helping people who go through the same, you know, and just sharing my story, even just that makes it worthwhile. You know, so really tapping into this purposeful thinking behind the story is really, really crucial.
You're absolutely right. I think introverts like you and me, we really do have to make it about the audience. If we make it about ourselves and, you know, sparkle and dazzle and dazzle on the stage, we will probably collapse, you and I. But there, you know, there are people who thrive on that.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's that self-consciousness. So if I was to say to you, what's a quick tip if I do get myself in a twist on stage and it's not coming out, what's the thing that I should be mentally doing to stop myself from getting into that state?
So people have to check what triggers the most. You know, there are three different elements: either the physical nerves, the mental nerves, you know, crazy voices, or the emotional kind of side of things, like I'm not good enough, you know, like I feel really scared, you know, I feel I just want to run away. So whatever triggers the most, find a way to calm that. Let's say it is, you know, the physical nerves trigger the most. So if you know you have a speaking gig, make sure you go for a run, you know, make sure you do some form of physical exercise to give your body the chance to break down those hormones. You know, that really, really helps. If you're hypersensitive to caffeine, please don't drink, not even green tea.
Oh,
It
really?
makes it worse. You know, yeah, I had one of those moments once, and some of you might be able to relate to that, where I was running a training. I had a big coffee before. I don't often have coffee. And suddenly, during the entire session, I was off. I couldn't think. I was like, what is this? And afterwards, I realized it was the sensitivity to the caffeine. But also, you know, for anyone who really deals with the crazy voices, like, find a way to get yourself present. The first thing that flies out of the window is your breathing. So
Yes.
when the adrenaline is released, you know, you are in the flight or flight response, your body gets ready to run away. So you don't do relaxed deep belly breathing. You breathe here in your chest, and, you know, your heart goes like, oh, we have to run. And then you're stuck on stage and you can't move, and everything within what gets even worse. It's like, oh, it's terrible. I even get goosebumps just thinking about it.
Mm.
So sit at the back of the room as far as you can, because then when you're called up on stage, you have time to breathe. You know, take a calming breath in and breathe out a bit longer. Like, it's the best way to calm your nerves. But also, find what helps me the most is I imagine my life being this big canvas, you know, my legacy, whatever I want to leave the world with at the end of my life. And, you know, if I have a shitty day, there will be a black splash of paint, you know, and that happens. You know, maybe you screw up. Like, don't always put yourself under this pressure that you have to be perfect. I've screwed up a number of gigs. That's stupid things, you know, and then, yes, you know, some gray flicks of paint, some black, but then you have orange again and yellow, and people love you. And then, you know, the BBC hires you, and then you, I don't know, you go on Dragon's Den and they fight over investing in you. You know, there are always good things happening. So you will have like a really amazing tapestry there that is very colorful, and it can't always be beautiful. That's life. You know, there's a balance to it.
I love that. I love that you said that, because the problem with us women particularly is that we really struggle to move on, and we obsess and ruminate over that one terrible gig, and we forget all the wonderful gigs that went so well. And
Yeah.
actually, in that way, we then we ruin ourselves for the rest of the gigs that are coming up, and we just focus on that black splash rather than looking at the rest of the rainbow.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that you said that, actually. So you've obviously worked with so many, and trained so many on stage. I'm sure you've come across those, like you said, who seem to have this natural flair, and those who struggle a little bit more with it. So, in your experience and in your opinion, what makes a marvelous speaker, someone who really captivates you?
You know what? I love people the most who have a sense of authenticity and vulnerability to them. You know, but this is a matter of taste, right? There's some really entertaining speakers, and they come on stage and they're like, "Hello, London," and they're all big and performing, and they put on an entertainment, and it's beautiful.
Life, yeah.
And some people really love that, but I like more someone who's like, this is me. I'm not perfect. I wish I was, but I'm here to share that with you. And, that's who I am. And I think, obviously, I like it as well when I'm funny, when I'm German. If people laugh at my jokes, I'm in heaven, right? Because we are not meant to be funny. But finding your style and being proud of that.
Yes.
I've seen you, and when you came to one of our boardrooms, and you have this gracefulness to you and this gentleness, really a bit like Harriet, actually, where other people, they're more like, ha, this is me, and they're confident and strong, and that people always forget the only person you should compare yourself to is yourself, your former self, and not someone else, and honoring your style. We have our female speakers conference coming up, and there's this one woman, she's coming over from Austria, and she always puts on a performance. It's amazing. I could never do that, and I still enjoy it, but my style is very different, and that's me, and there will be, out of 100, there will be maybe 5 people in the audience, or 20, who think, oh, Annik, meh, no matter what she does or says, I don't like her, and that's okay. You have to be okay with that. That not everyone will become your customer. Not everyone will love you.
Absolutely. And that's a very, very good point. I think we commit murder by comparison, and we compare ourselves to people who we feel are, oh wow, I wish I was like that. I wish I owned the stage like that. I wish I was funny. I wish I was a performer. Even just hearing you describe me as one of, and I know this about myself, that I am more of the quiet type, more of the let me show you kind of type of speaker. Whereas I am mesmerized by speakers who are loud. They may be physically small, but they seem to just own the entire room, and they just have this fiery passion about them. I admire speakers like that.
But look at Oprah. Is she loud? Is she brash? She is like very majestic, very graceful. And that's all it needs. Stepping into your power, no matter what that power is, and own it. And if it's the quiet power, then own that.
I suppose it's about mastering that power, rather than empowering that power rather than disempowering it by comparing yourself to other people. That's brilliant. I'll tell you why I'm really passionate about learning to speak properly. And it's definitely something that, even if you think and consider yourself to be a great speaker, and even if you've been doing it for years as part of your job or career or whatever, I do think that people still need to invest in public speaking, going out there, talking, spreading their ideas, just engaging with the community and with the public with their ideas. And I feel very passionate about this, particularly for young women, because in a lot of places around the world, and it's not just particular cultures or particular countries, it's actually worldwide, girls, young girls, are probably among the most discouraged to speak up, and they, and that then becomes a conditioning, that
Mm.
women should be seen and not heard. Okay, we've never heard that saying be said about male, for example, but we've always heard it about the female. And I know, for example, from my background, I know that I struggle to get my voice heard and be visible and be heard, because I grew up thinking that my opinion is not necessarily going to add to the silence, and therefore if I can't add to the silence, then I should be silent. And that obviously, for other women as well, they would feel that their own experience of life and their opinions and their knowledge is not as valued as it should be, which is why I think relearning how to speak publicly and to be heard and to be seen, particularly seen as well as heard, is very, very important. I think it's so empowering. And I think not enough people know about the fact that this is available to everyone to try.
Yeah, and that there is a way out.
Mm.
To be honest, I did for a year. I did speaker training, and they taught me how to stand, where to look, what to do with my hands, but within, I still was terrified until I realized, hang on a minute, I have to start on the inside. Why am I so scared? Why do those crazy voices trigger? And now you see, when I'm speaking, I don't care what I do with my hands. I don't flap them. I'm over exaggerating, right? But I don't do a lot of stage anchoring. Technically, I'm not a speaker as such, but whatever is important to you, that has to come out. Some people love the whole storytelling, the multi-personality representation, and that's part of their style, and that's beautiful. Putting on different accents, and some people love the performative element of it, and others just need to say what they have to say, and that's it, done. And if you look at, like, there are millions of TED and TEDx talks out there, sometimes it's really a powerful message, but delivered in a very, not even very engaging way, right? But the content is brilliant. And then you have, on the other side, you have seen people, I'm sure you all have, they don't really say much, but they put on a performance and everyone is listening, right? Exactly. You have everything, and it doesn't matter. There are 7.7 billion people on this planet, and no matter what you do, no matter what you say, you will never be loved by everyone. And that's the thing to remember, for anyone, especially if you feel you're very scared of speaking, or you have been silenced when you were younger, or you had a bad experience in school. We carry this with us like a badge of honor, sometimes even, I have blocks, I self-sabotage, but at some point, if you have something the world needs to hear or to buy, right, it is about selling yourself, essentially, then getting over that and doing a cleanse from within. I've done different forms of therapy, NLP or hypnotherapy. I had a massive fear of selling. Took me years to shift that, when I already felt very confident speaking. Suddenly it went into the sales bit where I had to promote our work, and I'm like, I was fumbling, and it was terrible, and I worked through that, and that was very painful, but it is worth it.
Oh, I think that's the important thing to remember. It's definitely worth it when you're finally able to own your power and be able to, it's such a release to be able to just be yourself. And that's enough. That's good enough. I don't think there's anything more magical to experience, really. And speaking of, how it can impact the world, look at Greta Thunberg. Look at how, that girl is she's such a great example of how the power of speech can change lives, can change the world, literally, the entire planet. And I do think that her strength comes from her voice, from her speech, from what she is. Again, like you said, she doesn't shout. She's very incredibly authentic. She doesn't care. Really, truly standing in her own power and delivering the message to everyone who would listen. And look where she is now, what she's doing.
So young.
I know. I don't think in history it's ever been recorded that someone this young has created such a huge global movement like this.
Yeah.
And she's German too?
I think she's Swedish.
Oh, is she?
I wish she was German. I could say, yeah, we Germans are awesome, but she's Swedish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I must have misheard it then, or read it wrong somewhere. What's the most common question you get as a speaker?
Yeah, personally for us, people come to us because, and this is actually quite funny. So people would come to us asking, how can I get more speaking gigs? Or how do I get started with speaking gigs? And very often, my first question would be, what have you done already? The answer I often get is
Nothing.
silence. Because sometimes it's this kind of overwhelm, you don't know where to start, so you're not actually starting.
Mm-hmm.
But especially in London, it's so easy. You could speak 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, start at storytelling platforms, or if you're a business speaker, check out your Chamber of Commerce or your local library. There's a business library in London, more than one actually. What I did when I started, whenever we had a family festivity, I offered to do a speech. Just if it is, saying something, this is what was so awesome about this person. Like, okay, this sounds like I was speaking at a funeral. Like, telling like a story out of their life. So whenever a friend gets married, I'm like, do you need an MC? Do you need, someone who reads a poem? Do you need, just volunteer. And suddenly it becomes fun. Go to improv or comedy events. When they ask for a volunteer, go, say yes. Yeah, they might make fun of you and they make a fool out of yourself. I don't know, whenever someone asks for a volunteer, I always say yes, and it's so much fun.
These are the two words that I've learned, that if you say them, you'll be surprised at what will appear in your life. So, and the two words are yes and give me more opportunities, give me more possibilities. And the importance is that you say yes to the opportunities that come to your way. And I have to say, I'm just noticing it these days, but in the past it was not that easy or not that common that people wanted speakers to come and speak at events and gigs like that. Or am I
It always was, but it has definitely exploded recently,
No.
and there's so much noise, but with the social media space. But I personally, we have just done a little analysis, and we sign most of our clients because they have seen us speak somewhere, because you build a much deeper relationship from them being with you in a talk for half an hour, 45 minutes, compared to them reading. Are you communicating on social media with them?
Yeah.
So for anyone in business, it's a powerful opportunity to spend time with potential clients and for them to get to know you and see the magic you can do for them.
Oh, fantastic. So what do you think the public want to hear? What kind of messages do they want people to speak about?
So if you're asking there are different avenues, right? So if you are a speaker and you want to break into the corporate market, like the messages they love there the most is anything related to creativity, sales, or anything people related that makes people better, helps people perform more effectively. These kind of things they love in a corporate world. But also a lot of there are so many women groups and they love talks around imposter syndrome, like what Harriet talks about, perfectionism and how to overcome that. These are topics that are very popular. And also futuristic topics. Anything that gives them a glimpse of how the world is going to be, right?
Yeah.
And for anyone else, if you run a business, it's not so much what is the message they want to hear. You either go and find event organizers who have your audience, or if you struggle, you build your own audience. This is what we did over years. You know, I had no idea where to start with speaking gigs, so we started running our own events, and obviously, you know, attracted the people we needed in the room to us, doing it that way. And you know, there is this amazing platform called Funzing, where you can just have a look. You know, people speak on emotional intelligence, they speak on coding, they speak on clowning, like anything. You know, there is, how many people live in London? 12 million in the greater London area?
Yeah.
Loads. You know, there's so much interest. It's beautiful.
It is.
And I've seen the most crazy talks in the world. One of my mentors, he did some funny research on Facebook groups, and there was a Facebook group on fruit sticker collectors.
Are you serious?
Yes. So do you see, like, they're crazy topics. You know, I don't know if they would do a talk on international collection of fruit stickers. Very funny. But, you know, it's either
it gives the rest of us hope, really.
Yeah, totally. There is for any message, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm definitely going to book an event very soon. It's not going to be about fruit sticker collecting, unfortunately, but it will be hopefully equally interesting. Honestly, there really is hope. And I do love the idea. What I am noticing at the moment is a lot of there's a big shift, shall we say, in society, where education is now being removed from the walls of schools and universities, and it's moving into the public sphere in the form of masterclasses, masterminds, events, speeches, talks like that. And it's usually, a lot of it are things that are not being taught in school, and they're not being taught at university level, but there is a need for them, and people are hungry to learn about them. And also possibly because university these days is not as accessible as it used to be. So you've got more experts going out there and sharing their wisdom and their skills and their techniques with the public, obviously for a fee, but it's nothing in comparison with, you know, to going back to uni or anything like that. And those chances are you're not going to learn the same thing you're going to be learning at uni anyway.
Nice.
I don't know if you found that was your experience as well, or that's what you've noticed.
I'm not sure. I find there is a bigger need for realness, you know, and for people to share how things really are. You know, I feel when I grew up, it was more about, and that could have been my personal experience, but it was always about putting on a brave face, you know, where I feel these days people really want to hear what's really happening, and that connects with an audience a lot more as well, compared to, you know, I've been here, I've done that. There's this amazing speaking platform. They're global, but in London they run in the King's Cross area, and it's called Fuck Up Night, where they feature failed entrepreneurs. Or, I mean, look, if you're an entrepreneur, one failure won't hold you back. You know, you move on, you build something new. So they share those stories where they screwed up, where everything went down the drain, and how they recovered from it, you know. And that's
amazing.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I've got to go to that one.
Yeah.
It will give us hope, you know, and it's very important to be able to laugh at your failure. Well, Annik, I don't know how to thank you enough for this. This has been an incredibly interesting talk, and I hope that our listeners are able to see how important it is to empower themselves by being heard and being visible, and take a chance and go on a stage and not necessarily shout from the rooftops, but if you have a message, then it's definitely important to share it with the rest of the world.
But you know what? You find your message through doing. You know, when I started, it wasn't my intention running a speaker training company. I talked about recycling. I talked about my dad's cat, like incredibly boring. But I developed a love of entertaining. You know, for me, I feel successful as a speaker if I have made the audience laugh once or twice. That's important to me, and that's all that matters, and that makes me happy, and that's it. Like, don't set the bar too high for yourself. One laugh is enough.
Right. That's brilliant. Thank you for bringing that down to earth for us. I think that's very important.
You are welcome.
Thank you so much.